Hello and welcome to another episode of Crazy Little Thing Called Thought podcast with me, Luke Richardson. This is episode 7. I'm so stressed and anxious. What can I do about it? Now, let's just back up here. People around the world are so stressed and anxious right now. It seems to be getting a hell of a lot worse than it was, say, 10, 20 years ago. That's even more. That's my personal opinion of it. I think people are, getting to a point where life's moving quite fast. Things are, people are really busy all the time. Things just seem really intense with what's going on in the world. I think people are kind of resigned to, well, that's just the way life is, and that's the way it's affecting me. So, yeah, this audio recording is, I'm so stressed and anxious, what can I do about it? Now, it's innocent, isn't it, to think that if you're stressed and anxious, there is something in the outside world that will be causing it, and therefore it's only natural that you would look in the outside world also for a solution. So, if you're stressed out at work, got a lot on, you'd think it would be reasonable to leave that job and get another job where it's less stressful. Agreed? And let's think of another example. So, the weather's annoying me. That's a good one. So the weather's really annoying me. The only way I can be less anxious if the weather clears up. The only way I can be less anxious if the weather clears up and my barbecue can go ahead this Sunday afternoon. Because we often, don't we, attach outside things to our mental state. So if things are going well out here, then I feel great. If they're not going well out here, I don't feel so great. Agreed. And yeah, as I said before, you would look in the outside world to remedy that. Now, as I said, the title of this podcast is "I'm so stressed and anxious. What can I do about it?" Well, and as I said, you would be forgiven to thinking something out there that can help you, but you can't. When you're stressing, the key is with stress and anxiety and depression is, if you're stressed and anxious, there's power in knowing where that stress, anxiety, and depression is coming from. It's coming internally through us, not at us. So, in terms of the question of what can I do about it, you don't need to do anything about it, simply put, because when you understand that the negative emotions, negative thought streams are coming through yourself rather than being Wi-Fi downloaded from the outside to you as the router or the router, however you want to describe it as. When you understand that, you don't need a method you don't need the what can I do about it to help you, because with a deeper understanding, you know that it's just an illusion. If you're stressed and anxious, but you don't pin it on anything in the outside world, you are actually a healthy human being because you understand where the generation is coming from. Now, when you understand that thought is fluid, it's not riveted, it's not anchored, it's not there forever, then it's going to change, and it's going to change for the better if you just sit and let it do that. So, as I said, there's a lot of stress and anxiety going on in the outside world among, not just young people, but older people are probably feeling it too. There's a lot of mental sickness going on around the world, and it's sad because this is not something we've been taught in schools or in earlier education, that how the mind really works. Sid Banks, I'll do an episode about Sydney Banks one day in the future. But Sid Banks was I wouldn't describe Sid Banks as the person who invented this understanding, because that's like saying Sid Banks invented gravity. Gravity being a truth in the world, something that is true. You can't deny gravity doesn't exist. It does, and it's a truth. And what I'm trying to describe here is this understanding is also a truth. It's a principle. But this truth is more closer to the myth back in the day that the world was flat than gravity, because we see gravity a lot more than we do the curvature of the Earth's surface, and the truth of how our mind works. There's a lot of true things in this spiritual world that are just invisible to us because our thinking blinds us to seeing that truth. So yeah, I'll go back to Sydney Banks. Sydney Banks was a Scottish welder who I believe was living in Canada back in the early 70s, and I don't want to go too deep into Sydney Banks because, as I say, I will do another episode on him, but he had a realization of this truth. Basically, in a nutshell, he went to some sort of weekend retreat with his wife to kind of help him self-improve and help him be a bit more confident, because apparently he was a very shy man. Now, from what I do know from hearing lots of various recordings and listening to people talk about Sydney Banks, this retreat was an absolute disaster in the sense of he really didn't see the benefit of it for him and his wife, and he was ready to go home. Later on that evening, or on another day, he was speaking to somebody else, and that somebody else said something to him that really hit home what I'm trying to describe to you. He saw the truth in it, and from what I can see on on recordings of Sydney Banks, that truth just never left him. It never left him, as it never leaves me. It never leaves you. But unlike Sid, you, me, whoever else is listening to this tape, don't see this truth because we are so up in our own head a lot of the time. When you really relax to life and just let it flow and understand what's going on, this truth starts to come out, and you become more confident, you become more the real you, you become more assertive, you become a better colleague, a better friend, a better dad, a better wife, a better spouse, a better brother, a better sister, a better grandparent. Because that's the real you. The truth that's hiding from us because of the habitual thinking we're doing over and over again. So, going back to this audio recording that's called "I'm so stressed and anxious, what can I do about it?" When you understand the real you, you don't have to do anything about it. When you see it for what it is, the stress and the anxiety as just an illusion, a mirage. Now, I don't say that to be disrespectful when someone is going through a very difficult period and their reality, their illusion is very prominent to them, and the outside circumstances are that terrible that it's making it feel as if they're at the mercy of the thinking and what's going on out there. It's a horrible situation to be in. But when you can understand that the temporary image of life is not you, and if you can see beyond that limitation and wake up to the real spiritual you, then you can thrive more out here. And no challenge out there is not doable. When you have this understanding, it just feels it because we're so used to living in our mind all the time. So if you're stressed, anxious, worried, depressed, got a lot of upset, lot of tension, you don't need to worry about it or do anything about it or find a cure for it, because with understanding, Sid Banks used to say, when you raise your level of consciousness, then you start to see this more clearly. And he used to say, don't listen to my words, and I kind of want you to do the same with me here. Don't listen to me intellectually, because you're going to think I'm an idiot. A bald idiot talk a load of gibberish about, life. And that's your thinking. Oh, this bloke's talking absolute nonsense. That is your thinking about me. It's not me doing it to you, it's your thinking about me. Alternatively, if you don't think about the words I'm saying too much, or think about me, and kind of take what I'm saying as a knowing rather than an intellectual understanding, you'll probably start to see this more and more in your own life, and hopefully it will help you more and more and more. Because this is the way you were meant to live. You weren't designed to live with tension, stress. Despite the world being the way it is, how we're forced to, work in stressful jobs to earn a living and, go through all sorts of, anxiety and anxious situations and stress. That was not the way you were born and designed to live. The gift of thought was given to you to use to your advantage, to, be more productive, to solve problems, to however big or small, to be able to have wisdom to figure out any difficulty. That's what the gift of thought was given to you to do. It wasn't given to you to create daymares, as I've known people to call them when people understand this understanding. People think when you have nightmares, you only get nightmares when you're asleep. But we can create daymares as well. We can create illusions that aren't true within our own mind, that are nightmarish in the daytime. That's coming through our psyche. That's only true to us because we're making it up and seeing it. But it's not truth. Truth is love. It's neutral. It's gravity in a spiritual form. In a spiritual, it's like gravity. Truth is like truth in psychiatry land is like freedom, full of possibility. And it's a truth just like gravity is, just like how the world is curved. The irony is that we always could see from the beginning of time that things appeared to drop when we had things in our hand and dropped them. And then as the years went on, we kind of called that gravity and understood that gravity more from a scientific perspective. And it was deemed a truth that you can't deny, that's proven. Many moons ago, people believed that the world was flat, that you would walk on the face of the earth and eventually you'd drop off, and people were scared to discover lands because they thought that would happen to them. And as our understanding grew and grew and grew, we understood, and scientists got involved again, we discovered that the world was actually curved and we can't fall off the face of the earth, no matter how far we walk on it. because of the way the world is designed in a sphere, and the fact gravity keeps us riveted to the centre of the Earth's core. So we can't just float everywhere like we would do in space. There's another truth out there. There's another truth that these videos and podcast recordings are pointing to for you, if you just let yourself see it. We are thinking creatures, and the truth is we are all the same. We all have that same head start in life, that same blank canvas before a picture gets painted. I have that potential to paint a picture. You have potential to paint a picture. Your colleague at work has the potential to create a picture. Your next door neighbour has the potential to create a picture, because we're all, the human race, humans are all the same. We operate the same. We might look different. We might think different. But ultimately, the very core of who we really are, we are all the same. So if you're anxious, stressed, depressed, uptight, jealous, aggressive, you don't need to concern yourself about that and how you're feeling, because we are all internally creating our own story, good or bad. When you understand that, the what can I do about it part of this podcast, you don't need to do anything about it. How cool and freeing is that? But as you're probably going to do after you've watched this record, as you probably watch this recording and move away from it for an hour, 2-3 hours, at first you might feel inspired. It's like, oh yeah, the guy's speaking real truth, and you'll forget because the illusion, the magic trick that we create is so compelling that we fall for it all the time. I almost fall for it about 50, 60, 70 times a day. And it's often a long time before I catch myself and go, oh yeah, that truth again, I forgot. And I've probably done so much things in that time that I regret because of my lack of understanding. But what's cool is when you develop understanding, when you develop self-awareness of this, life becomes a bit more of a breeze and effortless and full of possibility, because you're not wrapped up in your own anxiety, stressful and depressed thinking. So, wrap up now. The title was, I'm so stressed and anxious, what can I do about it? I hope this has touched you and broadened your understanding that you don't need to do anything about it. Because like me, like you, like another person that watches this video, we are much more than our habitual anxious thinking. And this understanding can free you from it. It really can. It really, really can. No matter what problem you have out there, no matter what story what a life story you're generating in your own mind, what play performance is going on in your own mind. You're much more than that. And the play, you're the director of the play. It can change in a heartbeat when you understand it's going to. Good or bad. Just relax. Sid Banks used to say, just all you need to do is just relax. Understand it, relax, and let life flow as it was meant to flow for you, because that's the way you're meant to live. Take care, guys. On to the next podcast. Bye bye.